Hey, how y'all doing? My name is Nate Lucas. I'm from New York City. Um, Wanted to talk to you guys about my COVID-19 journey, which was a rough journey. So, I'm going to get right to it. It was about, it was a few days before I really started to have bad symptoms. I had a light headache. Wasn't even bad enough to take Tylenol, but it was just something real light happening, and I remember being a little nervous about that whole situation because when I thought about it, with this COVID-19 thing going around, it had me on high alert. Now let me share this with you. I remember in the end of December going into January, they had a video that came out of people walking around Wuhan, China, dying, just dropping dead and dying in the streets. And I remember when I saw that video and I saw this man just walking down the street and he just dropped dead and died. I remember it was something about that experience that it said I said to myself, this is the real deal. And it was something about that video and about COVID-19 that resonated in my soul. And I almost knew back then that I said that this was going to affect me in some kind of way. Never did I think I would have it. And I spent like the next couple of months, I'm just watching this whole COVID thing on TV every day. I'm watching all the videos about it, and I was kind of obsessed with it, and I just felt like it was something that was gonna drastically change my life, and it did. So going back to how I got how I don't know where I caught it from. It's really a disease that I could have caught it 2 or 3 weeks before I ever got a symptom. So you never know where you got it from. But after I had those light headaches, I remember I went to the hospital, and no, I didn't go to the hospital when I had the headaches. One day I was actually hanging out with some buddies of mine, and I just felt sick. I just felt like crap, and it really felt like I was catching like a flu type of thing. So I went home and did my normal flu regimen. And with my flu regimen, what I normally will do is I'll just bundle up with clothes and get under the covers and drink hot tea and sweat it out. And in a day and a half, 2 days, I'm better. I'm back at it. And so I went home and did my little flu regimen, and I woke up the next day, and it felt like I had the flu times 10. So I said, well, man, this is not the normal flu. This is something is wrong. So I went to the hospital, and the guy in the emergency room, he said, and I had a fever, and he said, yeah, it looks like you have the coronavirus. And he said, but you still seem pretty good. You have the high fever. It wasn't a super high fever, but my temperature was up. And he said, you have it. Um, how do you feel in terms of, do you think you're going to be all right if you go home, and so on and so forth? So in my mind, because I didn't know anyone that had the coronavirus at that point, and I didn't know anything really about it other than what they were saying on TV. And they were saying, well, it's killing people with underlying conditions and the elderly. So I'm not elderly, and I have no underlying conditions. So I said, I think I can handle it. I'll be all right. So I go home and I bundle back up with my clothes, and I'm in my mind, I could sweat this out just like the flu, just another virus, and I'll just lay low for a few days, then I'll feel better, then I'll quarantine for 14 days, and I'll be right back to my life. So that was the second day when I started to feel the coronavirus and how it was working. So I remember going home, and that second day, and I laid around, I bummed around, I felt like crap, but it was a corona. It was the flu to me. Still, it was like the flu on steroids, and I got this in my mind. I got this, no problem. I can deal with pain. I'm pretty tolerable of pain, and then that night I went to sleep, and I woke up the third day, and that's when I realized the true impact of how the coronavirus can really it can tear your life apart. Just a sickness, because now I still have all of those pains, and the regular flu pains, the body aches. The body aches really felt like maybe two people were just kicking me in the body at this point, and but there were other pains now. Now it also felt like somebody was tapping nails into the back of my head, and it felt like somebody was actually drilling in my teeth, and it felt like someone else had their finger in my eye pulling it. And every now and then I was getting these electric shocks, and I'm like, whoa, this is a different animal here. This is not what I signed up for. What happened to the regular flu pains that may have been worse? And I struggled through that day with them, and I'm saying, I'm not going to go back to the hospital unless I really have to go back to the hospital, and I should be all right. And I remember that was the day is when I became unsure about what this thing can do, because it is overnight. It had intensified to a point where now it's kind of scary, and I remember I laid in bed all day, and I would get up every now and then and use the restroom or get something to drink, and then eventually I just bought my glass, and I bought some orange juice and water in the room, so I didn't have to get up for any more juice runs or anything like that. And I was constantly trying to keep fluid in my body because I felt so dry. It just Felt like someone made it felt like I had eaten sand or something, just dry. So I went back to sleep, and that was the third night. And I woke up in the middle of the night on the fourth morning, and now I have all of those same pains, and but now I can't breathe. And it's funny, and I've said this a few times. It's really hard to have the coronavirus the way I had it. If you have a bad spell with it, it's almost impossible to be an atheist and have uh, the sickness and the pain and that I had awakened to. Because I remember the first words out of my mouth when I woke up was, "Oh God." Because now, though I had those same pains, but they had intensified. And now you have to add on to that, I'm barely breathing. So I give you an example. When I woke up, I was breathing like this. And if you try to breathe like that, just naturally, if you let's say you're well right now, you try to breathe like that, you'll run out of breath. Do it 20 times, you'll run out of breath. Just doing that, and that had become um, my normal breathing. And a certain part of me panicked because now I have these pains and I can't breathe, and I don't feel like I could make it to the hospital even if I wanted to. Plus I would have had to call an ambulance, and I didn't want any of my loved ones to know how sick I was and panic or want to be around me, because I have people that, like my mom and people like that, that if I would have been sick enough to go to the hospital, then they would have wanted to come, and you wouldn't have been able to tell them no, my children, things like that. So um I laid in the bed and I toughed it out for another night, and now I feel myself getting weaker because of lack of oxygen and the pain and everything else. And I remember at that point is when I made a few phone calls. With that limited breath, I said, there's 3 or 4 people I need to call. My mom was one. I called 3 or 4 of my pastor friends. They were all short conversations. And I called a cousin of mine, and I explained to them I have the coronavirus. This thing is really it's really gotten a hold of me now, and of course everyone's answer was, "What do you need? What do you need me to do?" And my response to all of them was, "Pray for me." At this point, I realized that I was in for a fight for my life, and I needed the presence of God. I needed I needed those prayers. I needed God to know that, it wasn't just me saying, "Oh God," but, my and the love and reverence that I have for God, but I needed other people on the line, on the hotline, to God. And I'll share a secret with you guys. I don't I don't think I pray as good as they do. So I remember I called my mom and she said, "What do you need?" I said, "I just need you to pray for me." She said, "Well, I'm coming up. I'm coming to the house." And I said, "No, don't come to the house. This thing I have is killing elderly people, and I don't want you nowhere near around, what I'm going through." So, she prayed with me, and then the other pastors I called, they prayed with me, which was it was, if nothing else, it was comforting, and it gave me another sense of strength that I don't know if I would have had. Even if I didn't talk to them, I don't know if I would have had that strength. Even with my faith, I don't know if I would have had the same strength. And when I called my cousin, she prayed with me, and then she said, "I'm going to have someone call you." And I was thinking to myself, I can't talk to anyone. But she hung up. So a gentleman called my phone. His name was Kurt. And he said to me, he said, "Hey, Brother Lucas, how you doing?" I said, "I'm not doing good." He said, "I know. I don't want you to talk. I just want to pray for you." So Kirk starts praying. All of the normal stuff you hear in prayer. Then he's getting deeper in prayer and deeper in prayer. Then he starts to speak in tongue. And when he came out of speaking in tongue, he yelled out, "Come on, Jesus." And then he said, "I'm going to keep you in prayer, keep you in mind, and I'll talk to you soon." So Kirk hung up. I stopped talking on the phone, and I actually texted my cousin and said to her, "Don't have anyone else pray for me." And it was something about the way he had prayed for me. I felt like God heard it. I don't know why. I felt that way. I mean, I've heard many prayers. I've heard many people speak in tongue. But that's what it was. And I'll get back to Kirk. So I lay there and I go through all of the pain and the suffering and the so on and the so forth. And for the next day, I'm at like day 5 now. And the pains are not getting any worse. The breathing is kind of up, kind of down. Some moments I'm actually getting a little more oxygen than other moments, but most of the time it just felt like it really felt like I was drowning. That through that whole ordeal, it felt like I drowned for 12 days. Like you fall in the ocean and you drown, and you die in 5 minutes. But I just didn't die. I just was in that point, and it actually panics you. I had my I had a heightened sense of panic, and there was a terror in that, and I just went through it. And mind you, after day 4, really, I'm not sleeping now. Now you don't really go to sleep. You're so afraid if you go to sleep that you might miss one of those short breaths, and you need every one of them. So you just kind of up. And now I know the days that these things are happening because I'm kind of counting daylights at this point. And so I'm up all night. I'm suffering. I'm back and forth to the bathroom because I'm actually drinking a lot of fluid because I'm so dry. So I'm dragging myself back and forth to the bathroom. Most of the time, you just kind of lean your head one way, and your body just kind of is goes the way your head leads, and then you just kind of grab the doorway or something like that and stop and lean into the bathroom and use the bathroom, and you go back. And I remember when I came up on day 6, I remember getting up, and now I'm spitting up. I'm spitting blood. You know, when I go to spit, it's blood. It's no phlegm, and I'm kind of worried. I'm kind of worried then. Um, Day 6, I'm definitely worried because now I'm spitting blood. They never talked about they never talked about spitting blood in the coronavirus. So I'm saying, okay, it's hitting me differently than it's hitting anyone else. But now I feel like I'm so sick that I may need to go to the hospital, but I'm afraid to call an ambulance because if an ambulance takes me from my house, then everyone knows how sick I really am, which means that my mom knows how sick I am and everyone else. And I'm trying to not worry them, and I'm trying to stop my old school mother who's gonna come and lay next to me with coronavirus if I don't stop her, because that's that old school mother thing that they will die with their children. And I just said, well, you know what? I'll just stay here, and I'm praying at the best I can in my mind. For the most part, I'm kind of just, saying, oh God, that's about the most you could get out of your mouth because you're laboring with your breathing. And at this point, the only phone calls that I'm answering is my mother. And I'm kind of short of breath when I'm talking to her, but I'm telling her that, no, I'm okay, I'm tired. Or, she said, well, what's wrong? Why are you sound like, oh, I'm just tired. I'm just waking up and trying to get my bearings, and I'm telling her all of these things. And there's a guilt there for me because I don't lie. I don't lie to my parents. I don't lie, period. I just don't have a reason to lie to people in general. I pride myself on being an honest man. And that was the 6th day I got myself up and opened my window wide and sat in a chair by my window because I was saying to myself, I need oxygen. I know I need it because I'm not breathing. Maybe fresh air will blow in and just give me some extra oxygen. And believe it or not, there was some kind of relief in that. There was some relief. Maybe it wasn't a lot, but you take any relief you can get at that point. And I laid around throughout most of that night. And then I realized how oxygen deprived I was when I went to the restroom and I flushed the toilet, and I could smell the oxygen in the water as it was coming back into the toilet bowl. And I literally wanted to put my head in the toilet and try to get that oxygen out. And that's when I realized I was really, really oxygen deprived. And I turned the water on in the sink, and I put my face in the sink, and I put water in my face, and I went and sat back by the window. And just that little bit of movement and putting the water in my face and sitting by the window, it did give me some relief. And that was the 6th day. And I stayed up most of the night. I mean, the sleep I would get would, I may literally, I wasn't even going to sleep. I would like pass out maybe for 30 minutes, 40 minutes. Then you jump back. You jump right back up to make sure you're breathing. Because at this point, the only thing that's racing through your mind is you have to make sure that you're getting these breaths. And it actually starts to mess with your mind. Your sole focus on life is just getting these breaths. And being that I've never been asthmatic or anything like that, I never understood how your breath could just be taken away from you and you're struggling to breathe. I've never had any idea what asthmatic people really went through, and there's many people I know that has asthma. So on the 7th day, I remember I was having the same pains and everything else, and that's when I started wondering, like, when does this end? And it really, at this point now, I'm laying in bed wondering when is it going to end, and the tears are streaming down my eyes, and you just realize that everything that you've been doing in terms of life has just stopped. It's just nothing happening. Nothing was happening, and also I start to realize that I'm drinking a lot of fluids, but now I'm not even going to the restroom anymore. Um, I'm not urinating anymore, but I'm drinking all these fluids. I hadn't eaten since the first day, so I didn't have any food in me to have to go to the bathroom and relieve that. But now I'm not relieving the liquid, and so with that you figure nothing in, nothing out in terms of food. But with the liquid, I'm saying I'm drinking a lot of. I'm not drinking a lot of liquid, but I'm sipping on liquid. Like every time I open my eyes, I'm drinking some liquid. Now I'm not going to the restroom, and I'm thinking maybe my organs are shutting down. Now that I'm not going to the restroom, and I'm fighting this war with an enemy that I can't touch, an enemy that I can't see, and it's ravaging me on the inside. I could hear it. I mean, I could feel it, not hear. I could feel it ravaging me. Just everything was hurting. The pain was nonstop. The breathing, just wasn't getting much better, if better at all. And I remember I just laid across the bed, and I just confused at this point. I don't want to go to the hospital. like I said, I don't want to go back there. I don't want to alarm my neighbors and my friends and everyone. I don't want people trying to be around me. And I had family members that wanted to come when I had the coronavirus to help me. So I have to now protect these people from myself. So I have to pretend that I'm not as sick as I am. And at one point, I'm laying across the bed, and I heard a voice. I swear, and it said, "Tell me you love me." So I start looking around the room, and I'm thinking, who came to my house after I told them not to come to my house because I don't want to get them sick. But nobody was there. And now I'm thinking, okay, you losing your mind. This coronavirus, COVID-19, is now affecting your mind in a way that you're hearing voices. And I closed my eyes again, and I heard it said, "Tell me you love me." So out of instinct, I just yelled that I love God, and it said it to me again. "Tell me you love me." I said, "I love God." Each time I closed my eyes, this happened 3 times. It said, "Tell me you love me." I said, "I love God," and I didn't hear any more sounds or any more voices at the time. And then it and I don't know. It felt like something picked me up and threw me on the floor. Now, if you know the way my room is designed and the way my bed is designed, the way I landed and from where I was, it'd be almost impossible to fall out the bed that way. But that's what happened. And right before that happened, it felt like a set of hands was inside my stomach, just shaking my stomach. Right before that happened, and when I fell, I remember I fell, and this side of my face, which is the right side of my face, hit the floor, and I'm laying there,